Like this? Okay.
This is much better.
So would you read the pink part?
Yeah, I will. Across our nature's border line we escape into supernature's arc of living light. This now was witnessed in that Son of Force, in him that high transition laid its base, original and supernal immanence, of which all nature's process is the art. The cosmic worker set his secret hand to turn this frail mud engine to heaven use.
Did you notice something?
Yeah, it was very hard for me to not say something.
Yeah. Yes. So across our nature's borderline, we escape into supernature's arc of living light. So this was in continuation with the reference to the changes in the develop as the soul develops, in the sense as the veils of ignorance are shed and the being is kind of ready for the full manifestation of the soul, or the full dawning of the light, or full shining of the glory of for whom we were made, as were in the previous lines. Across our nature's borderline we escape into supernature's arc of living light. So we were reading earlier that as if the soul has made an uneasy compromise of being wedded to the nature, the matter, in which its glory is masked. The limitless has to become limited. Uh, the the one who knows has to become, uh, ignorant for some time to follow this evolution. Just at the borderline, just as this progression is happening, as was described in the previous lines. We break into the infinity of God, as if we are able to overpower nature's hold on the, the light of the soul, owing to the veils of ignorance being shed, as if that borderline is something that we are able to cross. Across our nature's borderline, we escape. We earlier read as if it's like a prison in which the soul has to live, the triple knot of the mind, body, and life, the prana, and into supernature's arc of living light. So something becomes visible which is heavenly in nature. Something becomes visible which is full of this light of consciousness. And whenever we are able to uh, bring whatever is happening in our life in front of this light of consciousness, whether we are going through confusion or a struggle or chaos or any dark happening, whenever light of consciousness, pure knowing, pure seeing is put on that experience that we are going through, something more is revealed. That is the light of consciousness, the light of knowing, the light of the ever present presence that we keep on ignoring in our daily lives. And in that domain, whatever experience happens, that is illuminated through that light of knowing, the light of understanding. So there is no shying away then from any experience. As if I'm able to, for some time, I'm able to surpass the mind, the limit of the mind. I'm not looking only through the glasses of my mind. So for that phase, the phase that is being referred here, that particular phase or time frame as if the veil is cast off, and one is able to go past the limit of the nature. And this phenomenon was now witnessed in that son of force, referring to Ashwapati. In him, that high transition laid its base. Transition from being mortal being to the shining of immortality. Transition from being a limited being to realization of his own true nature of being limitless being. So that transition now was laying its base in Ashwapati, owing to the tapasya, or owing to whatever was happening. That was witnessed in the son of force. And by force in capital, I also assume that it's the action of it's the action of Shakti, as was mentioned earlier. The creatrix was at work in Ashwapati. So it is the action of that life force, the life Shakti, that is working as if in this being, Ashwapati. In him, that high transition laid its base. Yeah. So this is like passing from one stage to another higher, kind of evolutionary stage, in the sense that the ignorance is shed. The veils of ignorance are shed altogether. So there is this transitioning that is happening. Original and supernal immanence. Immanence is indwelling, one who dwells within. For example, when we talk about immanent spirit, we talk about the immanent divine, the one who dwells wherever the form, all the forms that we see, the one who dwells in all those forms. So that is the immanent divine that we talk of. Original and supernal immanence, of which all nature's process is the art. The cosmic worker set his secret hand. Now, this cosmic worker who works through each and every form, he set his hand on Ashwapati, on this being who is now porous to grace, to receive grace. And this cosmic worker is exceptional, supernal, celestial, heavenly. You know, when you talk about supernal, anything that is supernal in nature, that is outwardly, out of this world, exceptional in quality. So that cosmic worker who works through the forms of nature in his own ways, in his secret hand, of which all nature's process is the art. You know, all the nature's processes may seem to us very rudimentary. At times they may also seem very unintelligible. That iski kya zarurat hai? Why is this necessary? Why is that necessary? Why going through that phase is necessary? But all the nature's process is an art, as if it's a developing art in which that immanent divine is working. So on the surface, it may appear as a play of blind forces, yet there is an intelligence behind all that work that is going on through nature's forms, of which all nature's process is the art. The cosmic worker set his secret hand. Now secretly he has started to mold, as if transform Ashwapati's even physical being. So because he has to be prepared, he's been readied for the dawning of the full strength of consciousness. Because it will come later, to turn this frail mud engine to heaven use. So this body, this physical form that we have as a human being, uh, it is not capable enough to allow the full strength of consciousness to work through it. So that cosmic worker, now because Ashwapati is in a state which is very porous and receptive state, now that cosmic worker has set his hand and he is preparing, as if he is molding Ashwapati's being to prepare more and more light, so that the body is in full strength. It can tolerate the light of consciousness. It can tolerate the full dawning of consciousness now that the veils of ignorance are shed. To turn this frail mud engine, referring to the body, the form, the matter, to heaven use. Yeah. So this is also referred to as, that Ashwapati is working as an aspiration of earth nature, the material nature, for a divine life. So the soul is divine in nature. It's the matter that is lying in the plunges of darkness and unconscious, and that affects the manifestation, obviously. So now Ashwapati is as if he is a representative of earth nature to live a divine life. That is what he is representing. So his material frame is now re-energized and being prepared by that life force, so that it can be used by the divine for this sacred work. Yes.
A presence wrought behind the ambiguous screen, it beat his soil to bear a titan's weight, refining half-hewn blocks of natural strength. It built his soul into a statued god.
Yeah. So a presence wrought, we have these things made of wrought iron. So referring to the complicated shapes that can be made. A presence wrought behind the ambiguous screen. So on the surface, it is not yet visible the changes that are being conceived within Ashwapati. On the surface, it is not visible, yet a presence, that secret presence, is working to make complicated shapes behind this ambiguous screen. It beat his soil to bear a titan's weight, as if his, yeah, like just like you make the dough at home, in the kitchen, or just like you make the clay and prepare it to make the clay utensils, so just like that, his soil, the very matter of which he is made, that soil is being beaten in order to prepare it for that superhumanity. Titan, Titan, Sri Aurobindo refers to, uses Titan at two places, one referring to something truly evil, like anti-divine forces, that because that has a lot of strength, or when he's referring to superhumanity, something more than the present humanity. So that presence is beating the soil within Ashwapati to bear the superhumanity that is going to come, that he is kind of preparing himself to receive. Refining half-hewn blocks of natural strength. So as if, imagine that there is an artist who is picking out blocks of stones or rocks, for his new creation, a sculptor, if he's trying to make a new one out of stone. So he would pick up that stone in which he sees certain appearances, in which certain appearances are already he can see. So that block he will take out of his go down or wherever he keeps his works, or the raw material, and on that he would begin to chisel or maybe shape it and refine it. So that is what is referring to half-hewn block. So some preparation is already there, some natural inherent skills, talents, capacities, heavenly capacities are already there. The shapes are already little visible. But now this presence which has started actively working within Ashupati, as if that presence is refining those half hewn blocks, half chiseled blocks of natural strength. It built his soul into a statued God. So the soul, anyway, is divine in nature. But now the outer form also is being refined so that it becomes almost like a living statued God. One feels that aura in that presence. So this is also referring to the physical uh, transformation of mind and the life energy, the changes at the physical level when the grace dawns uh, to a human being, when he's porous enough, receptive enough for the transformation to, kind of allowing transformation to happen.
And I think the statue somehow it also means something that is visible, like for
Yes,
materialize a material God. Like
yes, yes.
the
It's,
craft, yes.
so you were saying, so something which is visible and also solidity,
Yeah.
क्योंकि sometimes, so these changes are sometimes so subtle, they are not solid. So now there is this solidity that is being given as if, kind of gifted to Ashwapati. Yeah.
The craftsman of the magic stuff of self, who labors at his high and difficult plan in the wide workshop of the wonderful world, modeled in inward time his rhythmic parts. Then came the abrupt, transcendent miracle, the masked, immaculate grandeur could outline. At travel in the occult womb of life, his dreamed magnificence of things to be.
Yeah. So this secret craftsman that is being talked about, the cosmic worker, the cosmic artist, the presence, that craftsman of the magic stuff of self, who is laboring, through, imagine this, the whole creation, the manifestation of the divine, as if he's kind of experimenting through all the billions and zillions of different forms. He's experimenting, and through each and every form he's experiencing himself differentially. Such vast variety of experiences through each and every form, unique creature, the insect, the plant, the flower. Through each material form, he is experiencing himself differently as if for the first time. So that magic, that craftsman of the magic stuff of self, this magical stuff, who labors at his high and difficult plan, such a humongous kind of a grand plan in the wide workshop. And what is the workshop that he's working in? It's this wonderful world. In the wide workshop of the wonderful world, modeled in inward time his rhythmic parts. So now this craftsman is working within Ashwapati's being, and he's modeling the the parts within Ashwapati, and he's making them rhythmic. He's making them in harmony with each other. So usually what happens is that, for example, if we take one human being, the parts that we are composed of, if I can use that word, the parts that the human being seems to be composed of, they are not in harmony with each other. They're all working in its own, everybody's, that's why we feel pulled in every direction many a times. So now this craftsman is modeling each and every, refining each and every part within Ashwapati, inward time, in the inward space and time. and he's working to make all the uh, kind of parts work in unison with each other, giving them a rhythm. So there is an integrality to this whole being, which is usually missing in our life. The harmony is coming, as if the parts are harmonizing themselves uh, uh, as with regard to each other. So there is a rhythm in the whole being. And then came the abrupt, transcendent miracle. This we call miracle. Whenever we use the word miracle, it's always referring to something which the mind cannot grasp, something which is beyond the logic, beyond the so-called boxes and categories that we usually see, beyond the laws of nature. That is what. So something not of the laws of nature is at work, and when it really is manifested in a way which we can conceive, or when we become to conceive, be ready to receive the miracle, then we kind of see it as if the eyes are opening for the first time. Wow, this miracle was already there, but I was not able to see it. So miracle is always referring to some element which transcends the normal laws of nature. And then came the abrupt transcendent miracle, something belonging to superhumanity, something not of the human realm, something divine came into the human frame of Ashwapati. And he ceased to be merely human. Because of all this work that was happening within his being. Mother talks about this breaking of the eggshell and coming out of the chick. Now, for a person who is looking at this for the first time, he has no idea what is happening within the egg. We because owing to the fact that we have read science and we understand the process of the breaking of the eggshell and how the chick is being formed within the egg. But for a person who is looking at it for the first time, he does not know what all preparation is going on, and it would appear like a miracle. Oh wow, it, because on the outer surface the egg did not show any changes, and immediately you see this crack and the chick comes out. So something of that sort, an abrupt transcendent miracle happens, and Ashwapati ceases to be the normal mere human being. Now there is a, as if there is a joining of the divine and the matter, the human and the divine, as if the gap between them was joined, and it became one. The divine became one with the humanity. The masked, immaculate Grandeur could outline at travail in the occult womb of life his dreamed magnificence of things to be. So, referring to the transformation of Ashwapati again, that the pure, immaculate, neat worker that was working on Ashwapati, that is still working on Ashwapati, he could give this divine child a bit of form, as if he's born, birthing a child, in the womb of life. He was working on it, travail, because it's kind of a, like of a, the process of birth of a child. It's something hard, the hardship one has to go through. At travail in the occult womb of life. So this, in womb of the life, the new child, the Ashupati, as if he was newborn, he was being reborn as a new child, the superhuman child, by this craftsman, by this presence, by this cosmic worker. And he formed Ashwapati in a way that that he dreamed of magnificence of things to be. So something of the future is being created, something which will be followed in the times to come. Just like uh, Sri Aurobindo talks of the life divine. He has given us this big kind of, as if a vision of the times to come, how the humanity will change. So in that sense, Ashwapati was the newest born child, a newest creation, a superhuman child that was being created, a form that was being given to superhumanity, and which was in accordance to the dream of the creator. Now this is so be it. This is way how the things will proceed. Yeah. Yes.
Almost on the same lines, they say that, this Valmiki Ramayana. So
Hmm.
Valmiki ji had actually written Ramayana before it actually was
Yeah.
enacted.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. Yes.
A crown of the architecture of the world, a mystery of married earth and heaven, and next divinity to the mortal scheme, a seer was born, a shining guest of time, for him mind's limiting firmament ceased above, in the griffin forefront of the night and day, a gap was rent in the all-concealing vault, the conscious ends of being went rolling back, the landmarks of the little person fell, the island ego joined its continent.
Yeah. Yeah. So this new form that has been created, the transformation that has happened, a crown of the architecture of the worlds. So this it has been it has been talked about as the crown of the architecture, as if throughout in the world of forms you see this is the crown of architecture that has been formed by the master craftsman Ashupati, the the superhumanity that has dawned in Ashwapati, a crown of architecture of the worlds, a mystery of married earth and heaven, and next divinity to the mortal scheme. So now, as if you know, in the normal procedure of mortality, life and death, life and death. So matter goes through this life and death, yet the soul never is born and can never die. So, as if this divinity, owing to the fact that the gap between divine and matter, so called seeming gap between divine and matter, now ceased to exist in Ashupati. Uh, that's why the reference to annexed divinity to the mortal scheme. The mortal scheme, the law of duality, the law of life and death, the law of uh, these dualities, to this now divinity was annexed, forever, as if this annexure happens, that this joining happened owing to the transformation that Ashupati went through. A seer was born, and owing to the fact that veils of ignorance were shed, now this seeing, the seer, also seer is the one who can see, one who has the larger vision, the one who can see beyond face values, because now Ashupati's soul is shining bright and light without any ignorance, and that is even a possibility that he is able to shed it in the dark matter that we are formed of, the matter, the material of our body, and through the mind, through the feelings, through the body, all through these elements, the light of the soul will be shining through, and in that, the divinity is now annexed to the mortal scheme. A seer was born, a shining guest of time. So this transcendent miracle that happened, here, owing to that transcendent miracle, a seer was born, the one who can see the truth beyond face values, one who is not dumbed by the face values, one who is not just kind of stuck at the appearances of this world, how a world appears to be, and we are just stuck. So how can I believe I am not this person because that is what I see? So we are just stuck here, but now this transformation enabled him to see beyond the face values, because the face values deceive. Yeah. For him, mind's limiting firmament ceased above. Now if you remember, in Kabir also many a times there is this reference to Daswa Dwar. It is uh, referred to as the top of the head, the Daswa Dwar, and that's the Dwar which opens the last. If one can talk about this transformation of realization of one's true nature, and that is the Dwar, or the kind of a roof of the intellect, the mind, limited perception of the mind, the intellect, the logic, the reason. Now, that is the last door, and when that opens, there is this oneness with the divinity, oneness with the whole of consciousness that one is able to now feel. So it was always there, but owing to the presence of the limited mind, owing to the presence of the veil of the limiting mind, one was not able to realize the oneness in its true manifestation, in its true beauty. So for Ashwapati, now what happens owing to this, transformation, as if this lid on the top of his head, the lid was open. It opened up. The barrier of the mind, the glasses through which we see this world, we see the world through our mind, our vision, our sense perceptions, and our sense perceptions are all linked to the mind. So I sense something, and then I translate it according to the limited mind. So he, owing to the unveiling of this limiting structure called mind, he was able to connect, as if the island connected to the continent, as we will come later. This limiting lid was shed off, as if the veil of Maya, the veil of illusion. So illusion is something which appears to be, but is not. So owing to the fact that I have a mind which is limited, and I see only through the mind, only through the logic, only through the reason, I am never able to perceive reality in its fullness. And owing to the transformation that have happened in Ashupati, this lid, as if on the top of the head, was broken, as if it was taken off. And this is what is being talked of, what I believe, the Daswan Dwar that Kabir refers to. And when we look at little children, on that, when they are born, the newborns, their top of the head, there is a soft spot which is there, and it only gets hardened in time. So I have a kind of a strong intuition that that's the link, and that is why there is, as if that oneness is sustaining the newborns, because the mind is not fully developed, so because they are coming from this being of oneness, they are coming from this state of oneness only in the matter when they are born as a human being, as a newborn. Now, slowly over time, this veil of mind, the veil of intellect, the veil of me as a separate personality, that begins to harden, so that we separate from that oneness that we were truly originating from. So once that hardens, slowly the mind also begins to kind of takes its form, and the child begins to recognize himself as a separate entity. Before that, the separation is not perceived by the newborn. So that Daswa Dwar, I believe, is open for the newborns. That's why that. a soft spot on the top of the head. Yeah. So I found this very, very intriguing, this kind of shedding off of that lid of the top of the head. So I'm no more seeing from the limit of the mind. The limit of the mind has been set aside, and I am open to the fullness of life in its entirety. I'm not able to just see through my limited vision. So this is what is, I believe, is shared here. For him, mind's limiting firmament ceased above. It ceased to be. In the griffin forefront of the night and day, a gap was rent in the all-concealing vault. As if this mind was concealing the reality, the perception of reality. And that's why we were, as if one is stuck in the duality, the night and the day, the life and the death, pleasure and pain. One is stuck in this duality for a lifetime, owing to the fact that mind is time, thought is time. So I'm stuck in time, and when I'm in time, obviously duality is there, night and day is there in time. So this gap, as if was opened up for him, while earlier it was all concealed, it was not available uh, to know. And the moment this veil is rent, the moment the upper part of the intellect or the reason or the mind or the logic, it is kind of shed off, there is a certain oneness that he immediately connects with, as if it water rushes from both the sides when a kind of a partition between two rivers is kind of broken, taken off, like that. The conscious ends of being went rolling back. So imagine there is a drama or screen going on, and from both, or maybe a theater going on, and from both sides the curtains kind of roll off to the sides. So as if that those curtains that made him this separate personality, the curtains of perception, the curtains of the mind, the curtains of the mind made stories, all these curtains were kind of, they went rolling back, and this reality was in front of him, and he immediately, there was this connection, because that reality is forever there in the background. It may appear not to be there, but it is forever there. Yeah. So there were no limitations, as if the whole personality of Ashwapati, it disengaged from the person Ashwapati and connected with this vast oneness in the pure consciousness. Yeah. And this reminded me of Kabir's Doha again, Andhi आई ज्ञान की, um, something like माया टाटी उड़ गई, लगी लगी जो राम से प्रीति, maya tati ud gayi. So he refers to maya as just like, just like here Sri Aurobindo explains it, as if like a tarpaulin, it like a big thick cloth which is now taken away through this dawning of knowledge, dawning of light of consciousness, that went rolling back. माया टाटी उड़ गई, लागी जो राम से प्रीति. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. One line was uh, आंधी आई ज्ञान की भरम, something about this wall of illusion also that he refers to, that it also gets shed off, and the landmarks of the little person fell. So whatever makes me this little limited identity, the body, the mind, my feeling, my story, my past, my future, all that are all those landmarks, as if they just kind of fell away, and the island ego joined its continent. This is so beautiful, as if kind of the whole wall of ignorance was shed at once, The whole perception of the mind through which the mind tries to understand the world, the reality, all of that is shed, and a whole knowledge of knowing, of pure consciousness becomes available to him, which is forever available to us. uh, it's just that whenever we become ready, only then the veils of ignorance are shed in parts, as if, as Sri Aurobindo also says at one other point of time, that the being has to be ready, the ignorance has a purpose. And the more I become ready, the more of my true self is revealed to me, the more I become capable of receiving it. So, yeah. Yes. So, this can be also talked about as a kind of a dissolution of a limited person and his unification, if one can call unification, because it's not a unification, it is forever there, yet it is, if just to say, it's kind of a revealing of its unification with the pure consciousness, the pure divinity. It's like, I imagine that there is a space, there is a space, the vast rectangular, imagine that there is a vast rectangular space, and in which there are these buildings that are made. So owing to the form of the buildings, it appears that there are partitions in space. Yet, if the buildings get broken down, we see that the space is forever continuous. There are no partitions. So, just like that, if we imagine ourselves, human beings, as buildings in that pure consciousness, pure awareness, the more we see that the after the allowance of the dissolution of the limited personality, we see that there was forever this connection of space which was unifying. It's kind of a unifying awareness which was forever there. It is just that I was not ready to perceive it in its totality. So space is forever continuous, consciousness is forever continuous. It's just that the forms deceive. Yeah.
This is really something.
Yeah, this was really something. Yes.
Even the word landmarks. You know
Yeah.
how like even yesterday we were talking about like us like and day before the us being a story and us
Yeah.
not being a story. So
Yeah.
how when we talk about ourselves, like everybody you meet, it's like this, and then that happened and this happened,
Yeah.
and when we go to say healers, they go back and do that past life thing or
Yeah.
childhood healing, like you kind of go and maybe shed light or peace with this landmark so that they can dissolve
Yeah.
and it's easier to let go. I mean, I don't know
Yeah.
what the mechanism is, but
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
everybody has those things, na? Like somehow feels like this is how Maya kind of tries to, like you're a horse and it's able to put, kind of you're a wild horse and
Yeah.
it's able to rein you in by some way or the other. And everybody has their own thing, oh, that was the thing that broke me, or,
Yeah.
my own insecurities and my own personal thing.
Yes. 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 Yes.
You might have said it, I missed it maybe. The griffin, though, is a mystical creature, है ना?
Ha 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 ha.
इसमें
So I
what was the
also,
thing?
yeah,
Hmm.
actually I couldn't find it anywhere, but I researched and I also find exactly जो आपने बताया ना, it's with a head and wings of the eagle and the body of a lion.
हाँ,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's what I found, and I thought it maybe it related with this mightiness to it. It
Oh,
may be.
like how it said night and day.
Yeah.
So how two things which are not united, like I didn't remember. Yeah, it was eagle and lion something, na?
Yes, eagle
So
and
maybe
lion.
how two things that stand apart are
Yeah.
merging, like two ends of like night and day merge, right?
Hmm.
Forefront of the night and day and उनका one हो गया, तो maybe that is why the word griffin, kind of the
Quite
things
possible.
that are so
Yes.
apart
Yeah.
are born as one.
Yeah.
I don't know, yeah.
Yeah.
Forefront of the night and
Yeah.
day.
बट मुझे ऐसा भी लगा कि ऐसा भी हो सकता है बिकॉज दे आर रेफरिंग टू द डुअलिटी, हाँ, टू द
Hmm.
फोरफ्रंट ऑफ डुअलिटी, नाइट एंड डे मीन्स डुअलिटी. सो द
Hmm.
माइटी फोरफ्रंट ऑफ डुअलिटी भी हो सकता है because it is actually so mighty that it is hard to ignore. How can I not believe that there is no time? How can I buy into the idea of timelessness because what I see is night and day, right? What I see is life and death. So how can I buy into this idea of continuity when I what I see is separative personalities? So that is something which came to my mind, but I never found it in whatever I, yeah.
Yeah, because अगर ये पूरा context देखें,
Mm.
तो for him mind's limiting firmament ceased above, कि
Yeah,
खत्म हो गई है ना.
yeah, yeah.
And in the griffin forefront of the night and day, कि night and day का somehow kind of oneness, like I don't know, merging, and a gap was rent in.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
mighty.
yeah,
Okay. And this conscious ends of being went rolling back, we are so
yeah,
proud of it, right? Ki I know, I know, I know. And
yeah. Yes, yes. And it's the image was really beautiful, as if
mm,
it actually brought the image of, जैसे थिएटर में दोनों पर्दे दोनों तरफ से खुल जाते हैं ना. The
mm, mm,
conscious ends of being, what we understand ourselves to be, that
yeah.
just as if it is shed off, and something, a newer picture comes in front of us. Yeah.
It would be amazing how everybody says it's all there, this unmasking and yeah,
Mm.
rolling back. Yeah. Okay. Overpast was this world of rigid limiting forms. Life's barriers opened into the unknown. Abolished were conceptions, covenants, and striking off subjection's rigorous clause. Annulled the soul's treaty with nature's nescience. All the grey inhibitions were torn off, and broken the intellect's hard and lustrous lid. Truth unpartitioned found immense sky room, and empyrean vision saw and knew. The bounded mind became a boundless light.
Yeah, just one more line.
The finite self mated with infinity.
Yeah. Yes. So with this resolution, I think this is actually, this is as Sri Aurobindo and Mother say that nirvana in traditional yoga may be the first, sorry, so the last step, moksha or nirvana should be the last step in traditional yoga. But in integral yoga, nirvana or self-realization or moksha or liberation from the limited concept of self is the first step. That is what Sri Aurobindo and Mother say, and which which is so clear, which becomes so clear again and again because uh, integral yoga of Sri Aurobindo and Mother is the yoga of transformation of the mind, the vital, and the body, right? And before I, uh, if I continue to conceive myself as this limited person, limited individuality, I can never go ahead on this path of transformation of these elements. It has to be a very impersonal transformation. It is not a person that is being transformed. It is a very impersonal transformation. And that is why we talk of surrender so often. So, nirvana or self realization or moksha or liberation from the limited idea of the self, that is what is we are reading here. The island of ego joined its continent. The landmarks of the little person fell. So, I still have the body, I still have the mind, I still have the feeling, everything is there, yet I am not identified with myself being this individual little self with this little past and little future. So that is the beginning of integral yoga. That is not the last, This self-realization is not the last step of integral yoga. Nirvana is the beginning. Self-realization is the beginning of integral yoga. This transformation of the whole individual. You know. Because if I continue to be with this limited ego, the limited mental construct, I cannot go ahead and let myself receive the grace to get the mind, the feeling, and the body transformed. I will be forever conflicted with my personal issues. Forever conflicted with my personal issues. So first, this person has to disappear. First, this island has to join with the continent. And now the transformation of the mind, the vital, and the instrument of the body, now that can happen, because now whatever will happen will not be used up by the ego for its selfish agendas, while it will be used by that one awareness, one consciousness for the divine work, so to say. So that is one thing which is very, very clear here in these lines. Yeah. So this cessation of a separate self is very, very kind of a landmark thing which now has happened, as we read the line. The Because the separate self is nothing but a creation of the mind. And when we read that the Daswa Dwar opened, the mind's limiting firmament ceased above. With the mind's limiting firmament ceasing, immediately along with that, parallelly, my being a separate entity also falls away, because my being a separate entity is nothing but a creation of the mind. So both are happening parallelly, this dissolution of the limited personality and of me connecting to the pure awareness, the mind kind of falling away. Yes. Yeah. Overpassed was this world of rigid limiting forms. So Ashupati overpassed, as if he just flew over this world of rigid limiting forms, that I am this person with this limited mind, limited body, limited feelings. He overpassed this triple knot that binds the soul to this mortal reality. Life's barriers opened into the unknown. Now the life can be an adventure. Now the adventure can begin. Unknown, uncharted territory with no maps in my hand, with no past for me to hold on, and no future for me to dream about. There may be a vision, obviously, we talk about this vision, but even there is a lot of flexibility. Unknown. Abolished were conceptions, covenants. So covenant is like agreements, agreements that are made. So the way we conceive of thoughts and ideas, we see it only through this limiting structure of the mind. I conceive an idea and it will always be in this limited structure in which my mind is able to see, right? So that limit of the mind, that limit of the intellect, of the reason, of the logic, that was all abolished. It was gone forever. It was abolished. Abolished were conceptions, covenants means, so the agreements that yes, in this structure only the idea should be there. In this structure only the world should be there. All those agreements were abolished. A total unknown and new territory opened up, and striking off subjection's rigorous clause annulled the soul's treaty with nature's nescience. So we talked earlier, uh, that the soul made an uneasy compromise, being wedded to the mortal nature. The limitless wedded with the limited entity, and the soul agreed to dwell into inconscience, while what it truly is full of consciousness. So that treaty of the soul with nature's inconsciousness, unconsciousness, nature's darkness, that got striked off, as if it was cut. Subjection, what is the subjection? The earlier, we were talking of that the soul plunged into this adventure of being unconscious and then going through the consciousness, becoming fully aware. So that subjection, that submission of the soul to the unconsciousness, that was striked off from the agreement, because now the state, the phase is such that the soul is fully ready to overpower, to overtake. Now it is no more agreeing to the earlier agreements made, because it is ready in its fullness to emerge out and even give its light to the nature, to mind, body and life, the vital. So that is what happened. Abolished were conceptions, covenants. So the limited conception of the mind was no more kind of required. And striking off subjection's rigorous clause, that clause, that soul agreed that yes, I will be subjecting myself to limiting laws of nature, that also got rid of, annulled the soul's treaty with nature's nescience. So all that got wiped off, owing to this fullness, emergence of the consciousness. So when the soul reaches its fuller development, it does not have to abide by the laws of nature. It is no more required to be true to the treaty that was once done. you know and this, I believe, it is not once done. Yeah, it is happening every moment this treaty is happening. And whether I am submitting to the treaty, or whether I am able to remember and not submit to the treaty of buying myself into unconsciousness, in as much capacity as I become ready. I think this is happening every moment. Yeah.
Yeah, how we talk about like doings and happenings,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
doings and happenings, and Abhi BK also you said that, Sri Aurobindo said that as and when you are ready, right? Like
Yeah.
there's the purpose of ignorance and
Yes.
how it's unveiled once you're ready, otherwise you won't be even be able to take it.
Yeah.
And even I think there's a story about mother, na? She said, if it was up to me, I would give it to you right away, right? But
Yeah.
you won't be able to take it. I think supramental
Yeah.
consciousness talking about.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know, this thing seems to kind of prick at my personal, I don't know, beliefs of happenings and doings. Like, I don't know, it's like becoming more dense. Okay, what is happen? Like, when are you ready? Who decides you're ready? It seems there has to be some doing as well.
Mm.
Like if he talks about, how that patrata, like you have to prove that you want it, right? Like
Yes.
giving is his, but that
Yes.
want has to come from within.
Yes.
And yet everything kind of points out at happenings as well, right? Like it's kind
Yes.
of, yeah.
Taru, मुझे लगता है कि there is only happening, there is hardly any doing. The doing, the doership comes only after the thing has happened. This idea of I being the doer, this is created by the mind after the thing has happened. For example, I may be going through a disease, and there are certain changes that I am allowing in my diet, changes in diet or changes in lifestyle. So imagine that after a year of following such habits, something changes and my disease gets cured. Now, whatever happenings are happening, they are actually happenings, but once the whole year has passed, the mind creates this image that all this while I was the one who was doing all this, and this is because of all this doing that all of that happened. So I'm just kind of thinking out loud. So when we talk about doership, मुझे लगता है doership is nothing but a construct of mind. And whatever is happening, whether I feel that I am choosing, है ना, चाहे हम इस बारे में भी बात करते हैं, that I am choosing to remember. मुझे लगता है कि उस moment में when I am choosing to remember, when I am saying that I am choosing to remember, मुझे लगता है कि मेरे पास कोई choice है नहीं उस moment में. There is no choice in front of me than to remember.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, and it all I also kind of feel ke happening he hai, and what you said ke we choose and then we decide we a lot of times things happen and then we say oh we did it, that is
Yeah,
also there. But you know what then really kind of comes to me is like this whole thing was created for kind of the rasa or the leela, or how he wanted to enjoy, like they say, the I don't know him in other forms. There's a term you use, I'm not
yeah,
getting that. But if everything is happening and is in his hands,
yeah,
then like what are we doing? है ना? मतलब, not that it's like a question again, like how mostly AP only says कि there are some questions which are just they don't take you anywhere, right?
yes,
So
yes,
it's the
yes,
point of those questions, but the whole happening thing kind of takes me there. Then what was the point? I mean, I'm sure there is a point, but then it's hard to see it, and that's all right. Yeah.
नहीं वही है ना कि हम तो देखेंगे तो अपने दिमाग से ही सोचेंगे ना, है ना,
Mm,
मतलब हम अगर इसको समझने, अगर हम हैपनिंग और डूइंग को समझने की कोशिश भी करेंगे, हम किससे समझेंगे? दिमाग से, है
mm,
ना। ये आई थिंक दिस इज द लिमिट एंड दैट इज द डिफरेंस बिटवीन इनसाइट्स,
mm,
इंट्यूटिव इनसाइट्स
mm,
एंड काइंड ऑफ थिंकिंग आउट, है ना,
mm,
because when I am thinking out, it is always the mind that is in action, and when it is given to me, that
mm,
insight,
mm,
that and that point of time the mind is set aside, so I'm able to perceive something which is more than the grasp of mind,
mm,
है ना। अगर इमेजिन करो कि अभी हमारे पास कोई इंस्ट्रूमेंट नहीं है जो बता पाए कि कॉन्शियसनेस एग्जिस्ट करती है ना,
mm.
उसका मतलब ये थोड़ी ना है कि कॉन्शियसनेस एग्जिस्ट नहीं करती, इट्स जस्ट दैट आई डोंट हैव दैट इंस्ट्रूमेंट।
एक बार फिर से बोलो, आपका एक वर्ड मेरे को
So
क्रैक
I'm
हुआ.
saying that imagine that I am a scientist
Yeah.
and I am developing my tools to जैसे tools होते हैं माइक्रोस्कोप, इलेक्ट्रॉन
Yeah.
माइक्रोस्कोप एंड ऑल
Yeah.
दैट, हाँ।
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
imagine that the electron microscope is not yet discovered. So I cannot study a virus
Mm,
because I can only study a virus in the presence of electron microscope. So it does not mean that the virus does not exist just because I do not have yet an electron microscope.
mm, mm,
So I am saying that if my mind is not able to understand something, it does not mean that that something does not exist. And that's why the mind can actually rest itself and say that, it's okay not to know. And when
mm,
the being becomes capable, it comes just as a flood of kind of a light, it's like it comes like a dawning. We don't even know how we understand, but we understand.
mm.
There is no reason or there is no
Yeah.
explanation one can give to anyone, but there is a kind of a knowing that happens.
And it's very odd that, like, if I look at myself, like, there are certain things that I just know. Like, there are
Yeah,
certain areas where, if, like, I don't know what the word is. Like, normally that would create a lot of pain or chaos. But when I step into that terrain, there's something in which there's a deep knowing that this was okay. This is okay
yeah,
for sure. Like, there's no if and but about it.
yeah,
But how it's just restricted to that area. And
yeah,
in other areas, there's yet those ifs and buts, and that kind of that duality circles. Like it doesn't, like as if there it happened, and
yeah,
in some places it's yet to happen.
yeah,
Kind of a thing. Like it
yeah,
wasn't a complete dawning of something. It's in bits and pieces here and there.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
and it's beyond the mind because
Yes,
logically it would never be at rest in such a situation. Like it doesn't seem possible, and
mm,
yet there is rest.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's beyond the mind. Yeah, that's
Yes,
a very good answer to this question, and this is a question one comes very often.
yeah,
Faces very often. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yes. So, yeah. So we completed, annulled the soul's treaty with nature's nescience. All the gray inhibitions were torn off and broken the intellect's hard and lustrous lid. So this lid that we were talking of, the lid of the intellect, the lid of this reason, the lid of the mind, that everything has to be understood through the mind. That becomes our limitation, because we are not able to put the mind at rest. And this knowing that you were talking of, the knowing that I know, I don't know how I know, but I know, that is the place where we need to rest more and more and more. We need to put that knowing out in action in our work, in day to day life, mujhe lagta hai, because that is the place which is beyond the mind, that connects us to our true essence. So the more of our actions, if they are coming through that background knowing, even when I am going through a disease, everything, everything in every aspect of our life, whether we are going through any experiences or all that, we will see that this background knowing all is always there. I know that I am sick. I know that I am confused. I know that this is a hard time. I know that this is happening to me. So this knowing is the unchanging element in our lives. We may forget to give attention, that is a different thing. But if we look back at all our experiences, I know that I am doing this. So this background knowing, and this knowing is the unchanging element in our lives. It forever remains. No matter life situations may go up and down and haywire, and we may go through really tragic times in our life, the knowing forever is there. And that knowing is beyond the mind. Because even when the mind is not working, we see that, oh my God, I cannot understand this. So again, if we see that experience also, I see that I know that I cannot understand this. So again, that knowing is present, as if everything is happening in this background awareness, background space of this knowingness. So when Ashwapati is going through this, the going past the limits of the mind, all the gray inhibitions, we see that there are resistances in us. We don't know why the resistance is there, but we see the resistance is there. So the gray inhibitions, things that stop us, things that keep on coming, becoming an obstacle in front of our whatever the action we want to take, and we don't know why that resistance is there, that gray inhibition, all the gray inhibitions, so all those gray domains were kind of torn off, because the light just poured, owing to the breakage or the tearing apart of the veil of the mind. And Kabir also, many a times Kabir refers to man maya. Man maya are used very kind of parallelly. There is a very, very strong connection between the illusion, how we perceive the world to be, and how we perceive is happening through the mind. So there is a very strong connection there, between the appearance of whatever appears and in how I see it. Yeah. And broken the intellect's hard and lustrous. Yes, Tarun. Yeah.
No, this was something new to me, what you just said.
Yeah.
Uh, the relation between the mind and Maya. So
Yeah.
as in, that's why they say jo, it's all in you, right?
Yes.
It's not what's happening, it's how you see it. So again,
Exactly.
that is the link to that.
Yes. Yes.
But I
And
never made that connection.
अच्छा
Yeah.
अच्छा. जैसे कबीर बोलते हैं ना, माया मरी न मन मरा. So he
Yeah,
uses parallelly. Na maya
yeah.
mari na man mara.
Yeah.
Because
No,
maya
I
is the
that.
creation of the mind.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, thank you. Yeah.
All the gray inhibitions were torn off and broken the intellect's hard and lustrous, shiny golden lid. So as Sri Aurobindo also says that reason is the helper, reason is the bar. Intellect is the helper, intellect is the bar. Ego is the helper, ego is the bar. And at one point, when we reach this point, we see that it is not needed. I don't need, I just know. So where is the need to make sense of things? I don't need to make sense of things. So I can rest in not having made sense of things. A deep rest is there even when things are not making sense. Because who wants to make sense? The mind. Who wants to make sense? The intellect. And that is only a little window uh, to the whole of reality. As if mind is just a little window, and it is not the complete picture of reality, of the whole consciousness, of the whole truth of the being. Truth unpartitioned found immense sky room. Now we see truth in breakages, we see truth in parts and pieces. Owing to the fact that I have this mind, the filter of the mind through which I see and perceive things. Now, the moment the intellect is shed off, the moment the mind is shed off, I am completely connected to the unpartitioned truth. That background knowing that forever was there. That background space in which 10,000 buildings were standing. I just saw that, oh my God, that background space was forever connected. I never saw that. The moment a tsunami comes and the buildings are broken, I see that there is nothing but space. That space was never partitioned. It was all connected throughout, even when I was imagining it to be partitioned. And that is how we connect to being one with each other. You know, through this limited buildings of our bodies, we may see that we are partitioned. You are different than me. I am different than you. I am different than a criminal and the other person who may be very evil. Yet there is this oneness that joins us all beyond the face values. So that truth, unpartitioned, found immense sky room. So that became available to Ashwapati now, owing to the falling away of the mind. Kabir says at one place, man ko aisa mariye, man tukda tukda hui jaye. Because that is the filter through which I see the reality. And I see it in bits and pieces owing to the fact that I see only through mind. I don't see it through my knowing. I see it only through mind. Tinted glasses as if I use to see everything. That becomes my limitation. An Empyrean vision saw and knew. You were talking about this knowing. Saw and knew. This knowing for which there is no explanation, no reason. And at one point of time, I think I was also, I think it was AP only that he said that, if there is a reason that you can give to love, then it is not love at all. That it is beyond reason. That Empyrean vision saw and knew, this large vision that he became capable of. He saw and knew the bounded mind became a boundless light. This was the transformation that happened, the miracle that happened. The bounded mind became a boundless light. The finite self mated with infinity. This is the beauty. On the external appearance, Ashwapati may still look like this limited being, limited entity, but yet something in him is not limited anymore. He is not a separate self lost in this whole wide world and trying to find peace or solace anywhere. He is connected with that infinity, being in the finite self that he is, externally. Yeah, his march now soared into an eagle's flight. eagle has this capacity of a view, wide view. And it is also said, I was reading and listening, that eagle can look straight into the sun and his eyes won't get hurt. So this capacity of being capable of receiving boundless light, you know. His march, whatever march was happening, he was already marching, but now the transition that happened, that enabled this soar. Now he's, instead of walking, he became available to this flight of the eagle, with a larger vision and with a direct connection with the boundless light. Yeah, I think we can stop here today. Okay, thanks for joining. Anything here, Tarun?
Like it's just so odd that now I'm seeing it everywhere. Like what was just revealed, it was so obvious and it was like a happening, uncovering. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't get you. What are you saying?
Would you want to stop the recording?
Huh.